Welcome into the Backcourt Podcast.
All right, welcome into the Backcourt Podcast here on a Monday evening live from Oklahoma City. I'm just kidding. But Game 5 of the NBA Finals just wrapped up. Here with Caiden, OKC is now up 3-2. Tyrese took kind of a weird fall tonight. Did not look like his full self. JWilliams, a historic night for him, a 40-burger. Is there any hope left for the Pacers in this series?
To win the series, I think no. I think they might be able to take Game 6 at home, but just watching tonight, I think Oklahoma City's kind of figured them out. Especially with like the late comeback heroics, they know what's coming. Their defense is just so good, and then their offense is obviously so good. We saw a great game from Chet tonight. And J-Dub and Shea playing really well together. It's starting to come into full form, I think, here late in the finals for them. And I think it's going to be really tough for the Pacers to bounce back and win 2 in a row, especially with Game 7 being in OKC. But, yeah, I feel like OKC is just the better team all around, and that defense is really suffocating. And I don't see a big comeback coming from the Pacers in this finals.
Yeah, down the stretch, it was rough. A lot of turnovers for OKC, coupled by Nembhard, Tyrese as well. That defense was just, like you said, suffocating. They couldn't move the ball. Lots and lots of turnovers. And, I think the big thing of this game was Tyrese Halliburton. He did not have a good game, not even for his standards, just for general standards. And it's hard to say how much of that was due to him getting hurt. Was he just off tonight? It was tough. And JWilliams was unstoppable. The Pacers had a couple of chances late in that game to really make a comeback. And Williams kept going down the court, making clutch buckets for them. Dort hits a 3 down the stretch. And, yeah, they were just looked really, really good tonight. The Pacers or the Thunder did.
Yeah, and I think Tyrese does this every once in a while. He has a game where he struggles, and whether it be injury or not, it's just one of those where their team is not built to run solely through him. They're a very good team-oriented basketball program, so everything kind of got to be clicking, and then you can have those nights that we saw from like Benedict Mathurin and McConnell, and especially Pascal Siakam and Miles Turner. Like if those guys can like start to get rolling and you can get a lot of production out of like 3 guys, then they're a very dangerous team. But when it goes to like 1 or 2 guys, that's where they start to struggle.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what this team looks like. And Nembhard, I do really like Nembhard. I think he's a very good basketball player. But there's 2 games left in the season, and he's not a guy that's like Tyrese Halliburton or like Shea. Like star type of players that you can just be like, hey, we're going to rest you tonight. We're going to go ahead and give someone else some minutes. Andrew Nembhard's a little more expandable than that. Not to say he's not a good player, but I could definitely see a guy like TJ McConnell getting some more run in Game 6 if Nembhard starts off slow. Because I don't know necessarily starting him, but if we have a Game 6 where it's similar to this and they end up winning, I could see a guy like TJ starting, even though it's kind of weird lineup wise, but he's just been playing so good, man. Had 18 tonight again, 2 steals, 4 assists, 4 rebounds, and just really good efficiency overall. So I'm gonna keep an eye on that for next game for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think it's time to get crazy with the lineups here. You're getting kind of desperate, and then Carlisle's a great coach. I'm excited like after this finals to see like how the NBA shakes up. We'll talk about Desmond Bane trade here in a little bit, but like just those things that the NBA's offseason is going to be a little weird, and this team is not too far off, obviously. I mean, they're heading into Game 6 of the finals. They made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. I think, they're not trying to say their run's done, but I think it is. But next year, I think they just need a couple more pieces, and they're right back in that conversation.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I do feel like as crazy as it is to say, I feel like they could definitely go with adding, a guy with Tyrese and Pascal, maybe moving some of these young pieces and getting a third star. But I would like it, but I'd also be a little worried because one of the best things about this team is how they have a bunch of dudes that are just really, really good and really reliable. So I think both teams, honestly, and obviously the best players on like OKC, guys like Shea, 31 tonight, 10 assists, 2 rebounds, had a really, really good game again. I mean, I won't even get into some of the free throw stuff, but whatever. We'll go into that later. JWilliams played outstanding. 40 points tonight, was really the talk of the town tonight, and deservedly so. He hit some really big buckets down stretch, very, very efficient. Shot 60% from 3, 56% from the field tonight. Also had 12 free throw attempts, so he got a lot of attempts at the free throw line. I would probably call OKC, if I was to rebrand them, the OKC Floppers. That would be my name for them. And yeah, but they're pretty damn good at basketball, and that's undeniable.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if the Pacers are an off-season target for Ty Jerome from the Cavs.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if the Cavs are going to pay him what he's probably set to make. And that could be a fun piece to add there. Just a role player doesn't have to start, can come in and just light it up. I feel like if we get another guy like that, and like a star would be nice, but I mean, I don't think that team is built to have that star that's centered around. I feel like that it's a pretty free flowing offense system, and I think they're going to want to keep it that way.
Now, real quick, I don't think it will necessarily happen with this player going to the Pacers, but what would be, if you had to place a bet today, what would be the team, and say you can't pick the Bucks, where is Giannis Antetokounmpo playing next year?
Next year, I have a hard time thinking he stays in the East. Like, if Milwaukee's going to trade him, I feel like you'd want to trade him to the West. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it might be my guess would be Phoenix.
Phoenix is interesting. I guess I would go with
like a 3-team trade, because I know KD wants out. So there might be like a little 3-team trade there that sends Giannis over there and then KD to the East.
I would say it would probably be the Spurs. I think would make the most sense, just because of what they can give up. They have the number 2 and 14 pick. They have a young, like, blooming potential star in Stephon Castle. And obviously you don't want to give him up if you can help it. But, I mean, it's Giannis Antetokounmpo, first ballot Hall of Famer, a superstar in this game. I have him at number 2 in my list of players right now in the league. And pairing him with Wemby, De'Aaron Fox, they have a lot of trade assets over there. That would be probably what I would think. I was just
tied to the Spurs.
What's up?
I've also heard Kevin Durant being tied to the Spurs.
I have heard that as well. Yeah, if I was them with Wemby in his development right now, I would add as much as possible and try to compete for a championship next year, because I think they're close. One other guy
at this point, just because of age, and I feel like he would fit the mold more of that team with Wemby and Castle. But
I think I was just thinking about it, like Giannis in Indy. I don't think it would happen, just because they're in the same division. I just don't feel like Milwaukee would trade their star players to the Pacers. I feel like they would definitely want to trade him out west if they do trade him, just because they don't want to face him. But also for the right package, potentially, I think it would be weird though too, because I think you would have to move on from Pascal. I think they're just two very similar players. Obviously, Pascal's great. He had a very solid game again tonight,
He's
but I
probably
think
the best player. Like offensively,
he's definitely been their most consistent guy. I think the highs this playoff run, obviously, it's gone to Tyrese. Tyrese has had some incredible moments, but you also have games like tonight where he was really a no-show. And I think Giannis is just kind of like an upgraded version of Pascal. So I think Pascal would kind of have to be in the deal because their games are so similar. But I mean, if I was Indy, I would make that happen. If it wasn't something crazy you had to give up with Pascal. But yeah, just some interesting points on that. But in a similar note here, let's jump right to it. Desmond Bane getting traded to Orlando. What I want to hear your initial thoughts, Caiden, because I've heard many different takes on this. So.
Yeah. So like, it's funny because you have to like put a whole different thinking cap on when thinking about the NBA because the NBA does not care about picks. First round picks, like a late first round pick to them is just as trash as a second round pick. So they kind of just throw those around, but you do see that teams can capitalize on that. Like the Thunder have made a point to acquire all these assets, and if you draft well and you make a couple good trades for players, you're in the NBA Finals. You're cooking with one of the youngest teams ever. But I mean, when I saw this come through, I was like, good addition for the Magic. It ties them with Desmond Bane, with Banchero and Wagner and Suggs. I feel like that's going to be a fun combo to watch because he's a good 3-and-D player on the perimeter there as a guard. But the fact that the Magic had to give up KCP, Cole Anthony, a up-and-coming young guy on that team, and then 4 first-round picks and a pick swap.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot for a guy like Desmond Bane.
I think it's honestly, and I know this is kind of a cop-out, but I think it's kind of a win-win for both teams. I feel like Desmond Bane is kind of a perfect fit in Orlando. Orlando is a great young team, play really, really good defense, have a lot of exciting pieces. I love Paulo. He was great in the Celtics series this past season. But they've really missed shooting. That's the biggest thing. And Desmond Bane is one of the better three-point guys in the league. And bringing him in is, I think, a really good addition. Now, essentially 5 picks. I know it's a pick swap, but you're essentially giving up the best one in that. So it's essentially 5 first-round picks in the next 5 years, which that's not ideal necessarily. But first of all, the Orlando picks they're going to give up. I think Orlando's going to be really good. I think those are going to be late first-round picks.
I think that's the thought there is like they know they're not – their plan is to not be picking in the lottery the next 5 years. So
yeah, and I think their timelines kind of changed. I think it used – like the last couple of years, they've really been building, bringing a lot of young talent. They have a lot of young talent right now. I think they're ready to build now. They're not looking to bring in another – first-year, second-year guy. They're trying to go ahead and build for right now, compete in the East next year. But on the flip side, I kind of like it for Memphis. I mean, Bane's tough because he's a great player, but he also give up a guy for 2. KCP hasn't really been what we wanted him to be in Orlando. Cole Anthony still has some potential. I mean, he's been in the league, 4 years now or so? He's a solid guy you could bring off the bench behind Jaw. But you also got essentially 4 first-round picks and the pick swap for a guy who hasn't made an all-star team yet, which is just a point I've been hearing going around. And not to say Desmond Bane is not a really, really good player, and he's young, and he plays defense, and he shoots threes. I really like the player. But you're not giving up, Kevin Durant. You're not giving up Luka. You're not giving up like a star player. It's a guy who is really, really solid, well above average. He's gonna make a couple all-star teams in his career, I believe. But overall, I really like the move for both teams, honestly.
Yeah, it's a lot of capital, and if you're the Magic, as we said, they really hope they're not picking in the lottery, so those picks don't mean much to them, and they kind of play their hand now. It's like if they are in that lottery in the next few years, then maybe it's time to blow it up, and they can trade and get pieces back with one of their stars. But
Yeah,
it seems like that they're happy with what they have now. You don't really have a lot of capital to go get a big name, so I think they're out on that. Um, but yeah, I'm interested to see what happens. Memphis could be one of those teams that they're acquiring a lot of draft capital. They're a little bit away from competing for a title, so I'm curious to see if these picks turn into something crazy for a potential Kevin Durant or a Giannis. Maybe that's what their
I
lineup
was
is.
gonna say, are we gonna see something like that potentially? Now,
Giannis and Ja would be such a fun combo.
it would. The only problem I have with that theory, because I was just thinking the same thing. But what if? Why wouldn't they just go ahead and trade Desmond Bane? I mean, in that deal, because he's a guy that can take a large chunk of salary up. They already have picks. I mean, they obviously added picks to it, so maybe that's a way to go ahead and make this happen. But I feel like you would have Desmond Bane in a package for that. But maybe Orlando called them and they're like, "Wow, this is a deal we can't refuse."
Yeah,
And we can add that. We could add 3 or 4 of those picks into another deal with another one of our young, solid prospects.
that could definitely be what it could have just been. They called first, and maybe it's one of those where you're not guaranteed Giannis is going to ask for a trade. Like that's not something that he's come out
That's
and
true.
yet.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of like one of those where you don't want to sit and wait and then not be able to do anything at all. So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting all season for sure. Draft night maybe will be interesting. We'll see.
Yeah. And speaking of trades, Caden, go ahead
Yeah.
and get right to it. Something that I wasn't expecting yesterday in a whole different league. In the MLB, we have the Red Sox. I'm feeling good. I'm a big Red Sox fan. Grew up in the Northeast, and we beat the Yankees. In fact, we swept the Yankees over the offseason or over this weekend, and it was just really good. Vibes were high. We're finally at 500 again. We're playing really, really good baseball. Pitching's finally starting to show up. You know, um, Devers hits a home run Sunday. I'm like, feeling good, man.
Feeling
And,
great.
and then we go ahead and trade Rafael Devers in a move no one was expecting to the San Francisco Giants for 2 pitchers. One being a guy who was in the top 25 prospect list last year. So I'm trying to stay optimistic with a day to just kind of process what happened. A guy who I think has a lot of potential. Also, another guy. What's up?
Was that Hicks, the guy you're talking about?
Not Hicks, the other guy.
Kyle Harrison?
Harrison, yeah. And then we have Tibbs, who's the outfielder.
Mm-hmm.
He's a couple years away, but he was a first-round draft pick last year. And we have a pitcher who's in rookie ball right now, who has been playing pretty well. But overall, it's definitely a head-scratcher. We didn't really get anyone who is like, oh, this is a really, really well above player in MLB baseball right now. Hicks has a 6 ERA right now. Yeah, it's just a real big head-scratcher.
Yeah, it was big news, and I think it was just one of those that I think the Red Sox and him, even before the season, had a little bit of a rift in there with what position he would be playing for the season, and him not wanting to do what Boston wanted him to do. So it's like you're paying him so much money just to be a DH at this point. Not really worth it at what your guys' record was at the point. So making a big splash. I mean, this is kind of something you would expect, maybe, a couple days before the deadline or the day of the deadline, but, it happened 6 weeks before, and you trade away your best hitter, and it's one of the better guys you get back. You immediately designate for assignment in AAA. So it was definitely interesting when it came through. Obviously, I texted you as soon as I saw it. I was like, dang, dude, like what's going on here? So
Yeah, it was definitely a shocking trade. I was at work the other day, and I'm like, guys, I give me a minute. Like, I got to process this right now. This is devastating. A guy who's been in our franchise now, or in the big leagues for 7-8 seasons, and is one of the better left-handed bats in the league. It's just really a head scratcher. Love the dude. Obviously there were some issues with where he wanted to be this year in terms of position. He obviously sounded like he wanted to stay at third. I mean, we got Bregman, who's a very, very solid third baseman. And realistically, man, like Devers has been one of the worst third basemen in baseball in terms of fielding. And then, Cassis, our first baseman, goes out. And we want Devers to play first. And he's like, no, you guys want me at DH. I'm not playing first. And there's just a whole rift going on with the front office and Devers and how they communicated it, especially at the beginning when they basically were saying he was going to stay at third base. And then Bregman, immediately when the season started, took over there. So it's definitely frustrating. I can understand some of his frustrations, but I would also like a guy who's just kind of willing to do whatever the team needs. And he was, he started by doing that, by DHing, but then seemingly refused to play for a space and was not happy about the situation. But still, man, it wasn't anything crazy. Like, it wasn't like he was presenting a huge rift in the locker room from what I know. I've heard a couple of rumblings about it, but for a guy who's, hitting 275 every year, 30 home runs, a very, very clutch hitter, man. He has had some really big home runs in his career. And yeah, I just don't totally get it still today.
Yeah, it's tough. It's, one of those where, you're trading for prospects that may end up being nothing. So, I mean, I'm preparing for the day the Reds have to trade Elly De La Cruz, so I'm not going to be happy on that day. But
yeah,
you can understand why in baseball that you kind of have to do some of these things, especially when they have such a big price tag. Like, again, you don't want to pay a guy $300 million to be a DH on a 500 team. So, try to make a move to either get better or get cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the contract was part of it. Also, just like there's just a lot of players that have really been solid on this roster this year. There's a lot of guys that deserve time, but there's just such a lot. It's a thing, like there's a lot of veterans on this team that have been playing very well. But then we also have young guys coming up through the system that are kind of the future of this franchise. We have that going on. We have guys in the IL who are going to come back soon, like Alex Bregman, Masataka Yoshida. I do not know what's going on with him. He's been one of our pivotal outfielders the last couple of years. So it's just that might be another part of it. Just kind of trading a big piece so we can get other guys more innings. So we'll see. I still have faith in this team. Roman Anthony homered tonight, which was pretty awesome. So really pumped about that. And we did get the win 2-0, playing really, really good baseball. I'm trying to stay optimistic because I have been watching them a lot the last couple of weeks. I've been getting into baseball a little bit more. But yeah, it still sucks. I mean, Rafi, like I posted the other day. I posted his home run. I posted we swept the Yankees. I was really excited. And, it was definitely a downer.
Yeah. I don't know. It could be, also it's as a fan perspective, we don't know what's going on in the office. But as of this very moment, the Red Sox are half a game back from the wild card spot. And they're currently playing the Mariners.
And we beat them, so we might be a wild card spot once that updates. But
is that game over now? Like,
yeah, we just won.
Yeah, so you guys, I believe, would hold the wild card spot, depending on. Yeah, you should. So it's interesting to see. Maybe management's looking at it like we got 6 weeks to the deadline. See how it plays out for the next month.
Yeah.
And that will really determine, like, if you get rid of them and then the team starts doing better and you can be buyers at the deadline, then maybe you go all for it, or maybe you wait and then you sell at the deadline or stay where you're at. So that could be potentially another move. It's like, okay, we know we're going to move on from him. Let's just do it now and see how the season looks in a month.
Definitely. And it's pretty interesting because I am excited for this Kyle Harrison guy. You know, he's been okay in the league. Like he's got like a 4.56 ERA so far, which obviously like is a little above average. Isn't great, but it's nothing like strikingly awful or anything. It's just like kind of a slightly below average, averagest pitcher in the league.
Mhm.
And I think he's got a lot of potential. So hopefully we'll call him up pretty soon. And he can be something. But also our pitching staff, like we had Lucas Giolito to go today, and he allowed 0 runs. So, I mean, the Mariners lineup sucks, but still, I mean, it's a professional baseball team.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know. Pretty excited right now. We're like 8-2 in our last 10. But man, losing Devers stings. I still remember when he was a rookie, and he went up to the plate. I think it was the 8th or 9th inning. Really pivotal game against the Yankees, and he hit a home run against Chapman. Devers is a lefty, Chapman's a lefty. Chapman throws, 102, 103. He throws crazy hard, and Devers homered off him. That just like doesn't happen. Lefties homering off him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when we knew like this guy's the real deal. I wish him good things, man. I think he's a good kid and obviously a great player. So hopefully he can do some stuff over there in San Francisco.
Yeah. I'm pumped. The Reds are starting to play good baseball. Only 3 games back of a wild card over there in the NL. So a big series coming up. We got the Twins and then the Cardinals at home. So and then the Yankees. So should be a good little week and a half, and really see what our season's going to look like. Ellie is starting to play a lot better, so that's exciting.
That's good. Yeah, I'm wishing y'all luck for sure. You guys were my NL Central Division pick too, so hoping for it.
We're not that far off of the division, I don't think.
Nah, you guys are like around 500 too, right?
Yeah, we are 37 and 35.
Yeah, nice.
The Cubs are having a good season.
Gotcha.
Because
yeah,
they always do that now.
But I don't have anything else today. Go ahead and buy the 2026 NFL Draft Guide. Go ahead and check that out on the Instagram page, on the TikTok. Go ahead and send me a message. It's coming out. Top 300 prospects. Shameless plug here. It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
It'll be great.
It's going to be great.
And once you get back into NFL stuff when that comes around.
Yeah.